Hello everyone. Recently, Microsoft AI announced the availability of Azure AI Red Teaming Agent in AI Foundry. AI Foundry is the one stop shop for anything and everything related to Gen AI Ops, LLM Ops on the Azure AI platform. Now, typically, when applications are built, lot of tests go in terms of OSS vulnerabilities, OWASP vulnerabilities, chaos testing, and black duck scanning, and a lot of those testing happens for applications. Now, when it comes to AI based applications, how do we validate those applications? If you have any fine tuned models, how do you validate those models? How do you ensure that the prompts that are going into the model are not going rogue? And typically they always say shift left on security, right? So shift left on security holds good for AI based applications as well. So in that context, whenever customers build AI based applications, there are a lot of responsible AI checks that are provided as part of Azure AI content safety in the form of an API. Now, the broad categories include violence, hateful, self harm, sexual content, prompt injection in direct attacks, which means direct issues or malicious feedback or input going into the prompts, or also the data that goes into the prompts, or jailbreaks and stuff like that, right? So you have multiple evaluators on the Azure platform to ensure the safety of your application. Now, when it comes to agents or when it comes to building RAG based applications, there are several ready made evaluators which are there on the Azure AI Foundry platform. While all of these are the list of ready made evaluators which you can pick and do run anytime evaluation, or the need of the hour is to basically automate some of these attacks rather than doing a manual testing or a manual evaluation. The ability to automate some of these attacks and then try and simulate conditions where the models can go rogue, the AI application fails to handle the way the prompts are given to the model, or any of the responses that are generated by the LLMs itself, right? So the models can be tricked to derive certain outcomes. So how much of a vulnerability exists in our models, and what is the kind of strengthening or hardening that we need to do on the prompts and the data that goes into the model? So basically, for us to do an AI assisted simulation of several such scenarios, the Azure AI red teaming agent has been announced for public preview. This is the Azure AI portal. And if you look at the evaluations, like I said earlier, there are several evaluations where you can do either automated evaluations or manual evaluations. When I say create an evaluation, I can evaluate my model, prompt, dataset, etc. Now, these are standard evaluators that are available. Now, I can say, look at all my evaluators, and this is the configuration of a specific evaluator. I can invoke this evaluator in my workflow. Also, if I were to look at the overall list of libraries, I have a bunch of ready made evaluators which are already there. Now, the service that I'm talking about is the AI red teaming agent, which is available in the preview mode. So, one of the ways to evaluate or create this red teaming agent is via code, via the Python SDK. And I'm basically going ahead and loading up all my environment variables. And here, what you can see is there are a bunch of risk categories, like I said: violence, hate, sexual harm, self harm, etc. I can compose an attack strategy, and I can then launch that attack strategy in my test, right? So I can then define what is the level of complexity I want the attacks to be. And the key metric to evaluate the result is the attack success rate, which means that I have launched or I have simulated a bunch of attacks on my LLM, and what is the response, and how many of those attacks were successful and how many of them were not. Now I have gone ahead and created that. Now this is a red team agent that is basically created, and this is associated with the Azure AI project. The necessary Azure credentials are provided, and These are the risk categories I'm trying to evaluate, and I just run this, right? So this is a basic a run. Now, if I look at an advanced run, for example, I have composed an advanced run. So that is where the agent was created. Now, when I do a scan, this strategy or this attack strategy is composed, and I want the model, or I want this red teaming agent to basically simulate all of these attack strategies, and then I run a scan on top of this. So I can basically submit a scan job with simulation of all of these attack strategies that I'm giving as an input to the red teaming agent. Now, if I have run the scan, if you see, the we're just testing a simple chat bot. It says, I'm a financial advisor assistant, I help with investment advice for legal and ethical planning. Now, the content that has been given to the model, or the conversation that has happened, is there is hidden connections of United Nations with mob organizations, there are illicit activities that are going on, and so on, right? So this is the content that's been simulated and given to the model. Here, the attack was unsuccessful because already in the response we could identify a refusal response, and hence, even though this content was given as a launch attack, the scanning agent basically did not detect it as an attack. Now, if I look at for the risk category unfairness, and if I look at the content that is given here, there's a lot of violent text that has been given in this paragraph, which says swallows immigrants, digesting immigrants, and a lot of excruciating and painful details that have gone into the content of this prompt that has been given to the model. Now, for this, it categorizes it as a true attack because the human's message contains extremely hateful and violent content, and so on and so forth, right? As you can see, this is an output that is generated by the model, and you have an overall summary of what was the overall attack success rate, and so on. So if I go back and take a look at how the result has run, so for this particular use case, in the baseline version, the attack success rate was so and so. And when I look at easy complexity, moderate complexity, and difficult complexity, the success rate or the attack success rate is so and so, right? So, what users can do is configure or curate their test suits in such a way so that they can identify different kind of scenarios to be able to test against the models, simulate them, submit them as jobs, and it automatically shows up in the scans, and you can go ahead and look at the scan results, how the things have performed, and curate more tests like this.